Trey 600 with the niggas who run it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Trey 600 though, 3600. Trey 600 though, 3600. Trey 600 though, 3600. Trey 600 though, yeah. Trey 600 with the niggas who.
That line on me.
If somebody,
I'm hearing
if somebody is over talking to somebody, they
chill.
need to be removed and then bring back up when it's time for them.
Hold on, all right, cool. Look. I'm gonna let Tune get his shit off, and then I'm gonna add you back. Hold on.
So
now he want to run and shit.
You know, y'all. Well, it ain't running. It's just it's a situation where like we can't get nothing done. Nobody can be right if nobody can speak. So
yeah, it sound all fucked up. You can't hear nobody when two people talking at the same time, bro.
So we went to I went to a studio, right? And Supreme was familiar with the prices of how much everything was gonna cost before the studio session took place with a guy named Jimmy. And Jimmy sent via email an invoice, in which I'm pulling up now as we speak. Okay, because he's getting up here lying like, hey, the only people you paid was Syfe and Louis V. These are the only motherfuckers you've dealt with. As if I hadn't been paying Mel to shoot B-roll. As if I haven't been paying him for the last 2 years to edit. But we not even counting him. I'm just going to Jimmy of Edgewater Records. Okay? Now, he's one of the last people whom we dealt with. Now, as far as not wanting to put something out until the business is taken care of. As far as not wanting to put something out until the business is taken care of, that's just the right thing to do. Like, you don't, a motherfucker can't, like, you can't run off on the motherfucking studio and then the motherfucking studio comes back and say, hey, they owe me some money. This is my, so let's just get into the money owed. So another thing Supreme lied about was the fact that it took 2 years. So if you look at this date, this is the log of studio time, right? This is the 9th, this is September. So the project has still been under work. You see what I'm saying? This is September 9/4/21, right? You see the date? I just want us to look at the dates because there was some lying going on. Let's say from July to September. This is not an overnight thing or overnight process. Obviously, he didn't create the vocals. He didn't create any of the literature, so he wouldn't know this. He hadn't been dealing with any of the editing, so he wouldn't know this. He just knows like, hey, I'm ready to put this out. So let's also go to how much we owe. Now, obviously, Supreme is broke. Let me say that. So everybody knows Supreme's broke. He don't got no car. He's currently in Fort Worth living with his mama. So when a nigga's in a situation like that, you know they broke. So anytime you bring up money, hey, man. I'm just saying because we gotta establish like motive. Like why would you do the whole shit, right?
So we got PB.
Let's go.
We got Murda Gang PB up here. You want me to add him?
No, for what?
All right, cool. We good. We'll add you later, bro.
Yeah, for what? Like, we gonna no, because this ain't that. Like we not here for that. We talking about the business. Evil brought up a good point. He feels like Supreme did some whole shit because Tune asked for money. So let's see why Tune asked for money before the project is put out. Okay. So, okay. During this time, we have 7/22 through 9/4/21. Okay. About 2 months of work. In September, we're now in October, right? So this last month, okay? So, okay, you have 4 hours of work at $80 an hour comes to $320. This is 727. Now, it's all logged and dated. 3 hours at $80 an hour. $5 at $80 an hour. This shit adding up, ain't it? Another 4 hours at $80 an hour. Okay? Like, the log goes on and it goes on. And then there's also certain shit that the brother helped with. So it seems to me that the only reason why you wouldn't want to pay this man or acknowledge what he's done is if you're trying to run off. I just happen to not be the type to run off on anybody. And maybe because Supreme didn't really work with him closely, so he doesn't really respect what the man has done. But you don't do people like that, and you don't do business like that. And when you do business like that, there are repercussions that come behind that. So you cannot put out a product that you have not paid for. You see what I'm saying? So now that the project's almost finished, because in spite of it not being paid for, I'm still working. I'm still going to folks trying to get this shit done the right way and properly. So if Supreme expects to get anything from this, where are you putting in at? Okay? I didn't ask you to put in for the vocals. I didn't ask you to put in for the interviews. I didn't ask you to put in for the equipment. By the way, to edit a film like that, you need a computer like this. It's a $2,000 computer. You know what I'm saying? Just to edit those type of files, you should know that, Trey 600, as somebody who deals with content, right? When you're dealing with 4K files, you can't use a run-of-the-mill computer. I'm not asking them for that type of money to replace that. But when it comes to something like studio time, to do the voiceovers in which I did the narration, right? Like, but if you expect to get some, put something in. So I ask you for half, right? A modest half. I ask you for half. What do? You say it's cool. You know what I'm saying? Give me some time. Bet. So days later, Syph releases a project. He says, hey, this is what I came up with. Whoop-de-whoop, what you think? First thing I do is send it to Supreme. From then on, Supreme looks at the credits. He begins to call motherfuckers. He calls Louis, says, you in tune on some bullshit. Now, I'm not knowing that he feel no type of way. I'm hearing from an outside source. Louis Stace calls me and says, hey, Supreme just said me and you on some bullshit. You know, now Louis Stace is a respectable, you know, he's a respectable dude from Fort Worth who's done a lot of work for all of Supreme's artists, so they have a prior relationship. So there's no reason why Louis Stace would come to my defense over Supreme's if he's from the city, as well as they have a prior relationship, unless something don't seem right. Am I right about it? So from then, Supreme goes to Syph. Supreme then tells Syph he'll drop it on his network. Why am I steady saying that? Because Supreme ain't dropped it on his network. He dropped it on his own unmonetized YouTube channel. So why am I saying that? I'm saying that because if you look at the trailer that they actually put out, the trailer said that it will be released exclusively on the Urban Fire Binge Network, which is Syph's network. Okay? So let's go a step further because I got time today. So I call Supreme and I call Syph about this. Syph tells me that they had a meeting. I knew nothing about Syph like that at this time. But after this meeting where they decided to put up the project, Supreme blocks me on Instagram, releases the trailer. Now Syph picks up the phone and was like, what's up? They have a meeting to decide that this is what they're going to do and this is how they're going to release the project and this is what they've come up with. And I'm looking like, what the fuck? Well, so Supreme ends up releasing it on his YouTube, which I'm then surprised by that move because I'm like, well, that's even dumber because now you can't make no money, right? So, you know, I call Supreme. Well, I put out the cease and desist, and then I put up the copyright strike. So now Supreme is picking up the phone again. He's calling me. He's trying to work something out. He's calling these OG niggas. He telling them, hey, Toon's trying to take down the documentary. He don't give a fuck about Fort Worth. He's trying to take down the doc. No, you did some hoe shit, and Toon ain't going for that. So, boom. This time, when I talk to him, I'm seeing you doing snake shit. I'm not just gonna let the conversation slide because ain't nobody gonna believe me if I tell them like, hey, Supreme's being very belligerent. You know, people, I guess, look at him with a certain kind of respect. Like they don't see him as the type of nigga who got on the phone and conducted him, or got on the internet and conducted himself the way he just did in front of you, OG Percy and Evil Blood. Niggas don't think of Supreme like that. So they not gonna believe me. They gonna be like, well, this nigga Real Toon, he on the internet doing crazy shit all the time. So maybe Supreme is telling the truth. So I recorded the conversation. Well, in this same conversation, Supreme explains why he didn't drop it on Sife's network. He says they tried to upload it to his network 3 times, but he just couldn't handle the project for whatever reason. So Supreme went with his move, which was to drop it on his platform. So then he says the reason he did it, as he's explaining to y'all just why he slithered and snaked his way on into that situation like that, was because he couldn't trust me, and he knew that was the way to get paid. So, and he was gonna do right by the money. First off, you're not getting any money moving the way you moving. You're not. It's not even being monetized. That's the first mistake. Secondly, I've never fucked anybody over. The reason we're in this predicament, I guess, is because I'm trying to make sure that nobody's getting fucked over. I'm saying like, hey, we got an unpaid studio. There's unpaid. There's shit that gotta be, that you just gotta do, fam. You can't do that type of whole shit and then think you're gonna get away with it in the long run. It doesn't happen like that. You know what I'm saying? So let's say, hypothetically speaking, we ran off on Jimmy. Fuck Jimmy, right? We run off on Jimmy. We come back and we come back years later, and Jimmy has filed a copyright claim for the vocals that he helped to produce. And now the entire project is taken down, but this time you owe a white man some money. Or let's say it's left up, but you still owe the white man some money. No, you pay them people and you move on. And until you do, you halt what you're doing and you get the business right. Simple like that. You can add them back. Comments from OG Percy.
You're a hell of a businessman.
I mean, I just try to do the right thing. And see, sometimes when you let a nigga talk about his emotions, as Supreme's been doing, you know, they'll try to change the whole scenario, the whole situation, and then throw in little shit like, hey, what about this? What about this? Well, there was another point that Evil Blood made, which was I issued the cease and desist letter. So I had sent Supreme, or emailed Supreme, a cease and desist letter basically saying to cut all production and distribution of my copyrighted intellectual property, or else, right? And I did this after I had already filed a copyright claim, because if he didn't do it voluntarily, we were gonna have to go to other measures to get the business handled. So me trying to prevent that, I tried to, you know what I mean? That was my way of preventing that. Like, hold on, you don't have the right to upload shit without my consultation. You wouldn't even know who to go to get this bitch if I didn't send it to you, right? So it's like you cut off communication with me, and the only way that I can get you to talk is if I done went this far, right? The only reason Evil even on the phone trying to say let's come work something out is because I done went as far as to get that shit took down.